Okay, this is Trophy Gold, Hester's Mill. We have the entire coterie of players today, so that's exciting. And I want to let anyone watching this video know that if you are interested in Trophy Gold after watching this video, you can download a free copy of the rules at our Kickstarter page, which will be linked in the show notes, or in the notes for this video, I should say. And this particular incursion, Hester's Mill, is available in Codex Hell 2, not presently available for anyone. It is in the middle of Patreon and regular release, but it will be in regular release probably in August. So, does anyone need refreshed on lines and veils, or are we all good on that? Okay. In that case, I think I'm going to start with a little bit of recap. Then we will figure out what was going on with Diane when Diane was not with us, and then we'll begin play. So I'm going to recap as I recall, but I will ask the three of you if you can remember anything that I forgot. Please let me know. So we decided that morning when you all met on the road to Hester's Mill, that Diane decided to go back and commune with the woman that was buried at the ruins of River Upkeep to see what her place was in this story, right? And so that's where Diane was. Rasay and Korkaluk continued their exploration of the land. They went back to the shrine and they learned the true history, or the secret history, if you will, of Hester's Mill. I'm going to give the very, very condensed version of that for Blaine's sake. Basically, what was really going on was Lord Galdrin was actually a tyrant, and he inflicted a number of abuses on the people of this land. The people of Hester's Mill were too weak to fight back, and so they sought the help of this diabolist and show woman, Beatrix Mandrake. And Beatrix Mandrake, I don't know if we have her name in character, but out of character, that's her name. That's the name of the woman in the box in any case. Beatrix Mandrake summoned a devil to help the people of Hester's Mill. And this devil did. This sort of crow, this titanic crow demon, surrounded by a mass of smaller crow demons in a nest of black tentacles. It told the people of Hester's Mill what they needed to do in order to fight back. And what that involved was the people of Hester's Mill kidnapping Lord Galdrin's soldiers, sacrificing them under the millstone, and then consuming the slurry of blood and bone that was created. Upon consuming this slurry of blood and bone, the people of Hester's Mill, men and women alike, became pregnant and gave birth to the crow-like creatures that we're calling Hester's Banes. These crow-like creatures and the greater demon itself then launched an attack on Lord Galdrin, destroyed the keep, murdered most of Galdrin's people. Lord Galdrin got away, though. Spoiler alert, it's not a spoiler anymore, but Lord Galdrin is the Vagrant. The Vagrant managed to get away and acquire immortality by becoming a beast-bitten, basically. And so Lord Galdrin was overthrown, but then the demon continued to demand sacrifices. And so the people started turning on each other and sacrificing each other to the millstone until basically no one was left. Now we learned a little later, and I should also mention that beneath the shrine there was a secret shrine to the greater demon. This sort of like, there was a little tiny gold crow statue with a crown, and Rasay had that statue for a time. It's very valuable, but it turns out that having the statue put a curse on Rasay that made Rasay into a servant of Malfast. Now, we'll get to that in a minute. Put a pin in that. Then the duo decided to go to the farmhouse. And at this point, it's still late in the afternoon. They go to the farmhouse, and the farmhouse is pristine, it's in perfect condition, and it is a place of rest. While at the farmhouse, they discover I'm really summarizing here, but they discover that Beatrix Mandrake fled to the farmhouse and essentially used her powers to create a guardian scarecrow that is in the field next to the farmhouse. And that scarecrow not only prevents the Hester's Banes from coming into the farmhouse land, but it also somehow traps the greater demon into this sort of like stasis, this dream stasis. And that's what Diane saw when Diane saw the creature atop the mill. Diane literally saw the creature up there in its sort of like never-ending loop of, it's in this never-ending loop of vomiting forth one of Lord Galdrin's men and having it devoured. It's like in this stasis. And so as long as that scarecrow is there, the demon can't do anything. It's just stuck on the mill. But the demon's presence is a blight on the land. And so that was essentially what was going on there. Korkuluk also learned a ritual of how to make his own scarecrows. So Korkuluk learned how to make other mannequins, just straw mannequins, essentially. And then they slept, and now it's nighttime. There were some crazy dreams that were happening that the scarecrow causes to happen just because of its nearness. And also we learned, this is an important detail for what's about to come up, we learned that the ghouls that we're calling, what are we calling them? Oh yeah, yellow-humored lurkers. The yellow-humored lurkers are not subject to the scarecrow's defense because there was one in the farmhouse. And I think there's probably going to be more that's going to be happening as we start here, or something like that. So the scarecrow has no power over those, but the Hester's Banes are kept out of the farmhouse. Did I miss anything in the recap, or anything that you want to highlight as that was important for your character or for the story so far?
There are a couple of things that may or may not be significant, and I just don't know yet. You had mentioned, or we'd mentioned in the past, that something in the land wants revenge. I believe Dion had witnessed or experienced that.
Yes, that's the vagrant. Right, the vagrant is essentially, I mean, we've been kind of hinting at what's going on there, but I'll just kind of say it for out of character purposes. The vagrant is Lord Galdrin, and he's a beast-bitten, but he doesn't, one gets the impression that he does this over and over and over again. Basically, every time he comes out of beast-bitten form the next morning, he can't, he's arrived anew, like he can't remember what he did. He may have been on these lands for decades and he doesn't realize it, right? He's just here, constant in this loop, right? Reborn again, born anew every day, essentially. And so we don't know that for sure, but essentially, that's the revenge he wants. He wants to destroy the demon because the demon overthrew him. And so we have this kind of like tension between, he was a bad guy, but he's your only potential ally in destroying the demon. So I'll leave that up to you all, how you want to cope with that. If you even want to destroy the demon, you can just leave the demon there. It's totally fine too. Yeah, that's my thought on that. Was there anything else, Brian?
Well, from my notes, our last set goal was to learn the scarecrow ritual. Do we have a new set goal?
The only two remaining sets are the village and the hangman's, or the Gallows Hill. So once you enter those, then you will. Yeah.
So we sort of acquire a new goal upon entering those points?
A new set, yeah. Okay. Every set has a goal. So, and you've satisfied this one. So.
All
right. Okay, if there's nothing else, then I think I'd like to figure out what Diane was up to. So Diane, the way this is going to work is it's essentially going to be a hunt roll, but in addition to the normal hunt roll results, whatever you roll is going to characterize the quality and amount of information that you get from Beatrix Mandrake. So the first thing I'd like to know is, so you went back, perhaps intuiting that the woman in the box is important to the story. You went back just to see what her deal is, and I'm curious, how would you have gone about trying to communicate with her? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think Diane definitely doesn't trust her enough to like release her and try and talk to her that way. So I think he'll like do another one of his trance-like things, maybe enhanced a little bit with like some herbs, and just like she said that she had like some amount of psychic power and she was going to spread her influence and that sort of thing. So he's going to just try and consciously tap into that influence and try and get information that way.
Yeah, that's good. I like that a lot. And so it sounds like you are, um, I'm going to make it a hunt roll, and it sounds like you're going to be using sort of your variation on your spirit skill, essentially, right, to make this happen.
Yeah, spirits or improvisation, either way.
Yeah, I think combined, I think it all kind of works. So you'll have 2 light dice. Now on the Discord, that's going to be /hunt 2. And it's a 3 and a 1. So you are going to encounter something terrible, and I think the information is going to be terrible also. Essentially, what happens, or what she explains to you, is there is a way of ridding the land of Malfast. That's the name of the greater demon. There's a way of ridding the land of Malfast that is not just meeting it in combat. The way you can get rid of it is if essentially you're able to satisfy Malfast's remit, which is the destruction of Lord Galdrin. And specifically, you have to sacrifice Lord Galdrin beneath the millstone in order to get Malfast to leave this plane of existence. So you can, if you have a desire to be rid of Malfast, that's one way of doing it. Or you can try to fight it, or you can leave it there and let Torrens Ben be blighted for all time. It's totally up to the 3 of you, but that is the information you have. Also, because your roll went rather poorly, I think I'm going to make this initial fight that we're going to kick off with here particularly dangerous, because I think what's essentially happened is a group of yellow humored lurkers have followed you from the ruins to the farmhouse. I think you go to the farmhouse, perhaps seeing a light or something indicates that that's where the group is. And so I think what this looks like is I think we're going to have 2 combat rolls. The first going on at the same time. The first is going to be Diane and a single yellow humored lurker just trying to essentially get it off of you, kill it, destroy it, or you can even just try to run away from it, but basically get away from that one so you can get with the rest of the group. And the other one is going to be a group of yellow humored lurkers that have managed to sneak into the house while the 2 of you are asleep. Okay, you'll wake up in time to meet them in combat, but it's just going to be, particularly because Corporal doesn't really sleep. That's the main reason why you're able to ready yourselves. But that's kind of where it's at. Corkluck, I want to invite you at this point to think about the ways that the bear might get involved. That bear is another entity on this land, and we haven't really seen what it means for you to have that bond with the bear yet. And so if you can think of a cool way of working the bear into the fiction somehow, I'll give you a bonus on the combat, or reduce the endurance of the creature or whatever, right? So I want to just kind of throw that out there as a possibility as well. But I think I'd like to start with Diane. And Diane, the way this is kind of going is essentially, I think you get to the farmhouse and start to hear the commotion inside the farmhouse, but you're still a little ways away. You can't quite get there. by the time you realize that, a yellow-humored lurker, emaciated, thin, eyes glowing yellow in the darkness, leaps from the stalks of corn and is just ready to, it just leaps at you like a frog, ready to tear you apart. So Diane, what do you do?
Probably panics and does the trick that he knows works before. Well, actually, no, that's a little bit risky. Yeah, he probably does panic, but I think like that causes him to fight when he really probably should run.
Fair enough. So tell me how are you vulnerable? Unless it's just obvious you're caught by surprise. But tell me how you're vulnerable, and go ahead and roll weak on the Discord.
He's vulnerable because he is not a stalwart warrior by any means, and he is going up against this thing alone.
Right, which mechanically is problematic, but in any case, go ahead and roll weak point. Let's see what that is. 4. And now go ahead and roll that first combat die. Let's see how that goes. So it'd be /combat 1.
Great.
Okay, so you don't take any hits, but go ahead and just give me a little bit of fiction. What does this look like in the beginning?
Yeah, I think it like jumps at him, and he like swings around with his sickle raised, trying to swing at it, and like as he's backing up, trips over something, and it just like goes over his head.
Nice, thank you. Let's cut back over to the farmhouse now. We're just picking up totally in medias res here. There are 3 yellow-humored lurkers in the main room, like kind of sizing the two of you up, like looking for opportunities. They're very much like, they operate in groups a little bit like velociraptors, like they sort of like raise their heads up and make like a sound with their throat, and communicate that way, and they're a little tactical even. I just want to, what is your initial disposition here, Rasay? Like, what does this look like for you?
I think, well, there was one of these in the attic or the upper floor when we first got here. So I think probably I've got the sense that killing that one sort of alerted these. Because if they're moving intelligently and together, it might occur to me that there's some sort of like hive mind or something.
Yeah.
So I think last time we kind of beat it with fire, but that also burnt the house up a little bit.
Yeah, just the carpet, I think, but yeah.
Yeah. I think I'll probably try and look around the room for something large that we could use to, like, I don't know, hide behind or something, so we have an advantage.
Or make it defensible. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
There's probably like a big, like, dining room table that you could probably flip over, to put between yourselves and them. I like that. Let me hear what Corklick has to say, and then we'll kind of figure out what the final endurance is of these creatures. Corklick, what's your initial thinking here?
I'm hefting my axe in my hands, and I say to these 3 creatures, I've fed one of your livers to a bear. I'm happy to feed 3 more.
Nice, good. I think the way it's been described, normally their endurance for the group would be 10, but I like the defensible use of the environment, or the use of the environment to like create like a bit of a defense. So I'm going to bump that down to 9 for the group. So we have endurance 9 to deal with. Say how you're vulnerable and roll your weak point.
I'd say I just turn my back to these things for a minute while I try and get that table down.
Nice. Corklick.
I feel like I've got almost a bit too much bravado in this, that the harvested liver, made me a new friend, and I'm almost too eager to get a few more Ursine friends.
Yeah, I like the idea of like Corklick thinking ahead of like the positive possibilities here and not really like focusing on the moment. I think it's pretty good. Fantastic. All right, what were our weak points on this guy?
2 for Korkuluk.
1 for me.
Not bad at all. And then we're just going to have one person roll the dice. We'll say, Jen, it was your idea to use the table, so go ahead and roll combat 2. All right, whoever had weak point 1, yeah, it's 3 and 1, I see that. Yeah, so you are going to take a hit. You can always have your armor absorb it if you want, but let's just have a little bit of fiction here. So why don't you kick it off, Korkuluk? What's going on?
I feel like there's some ineffectual swinging as I try to take on a couple of these at once. Not making good use of the table. I'm kind of going in two-handed, swinging back and forth here and flailing away and accomplishing a little.
Nice. And Rosé? Oh, you're muted, Jen.
I see Korkuluk struggling, and I call to him like, "Oh, come back behind the table." But when I turn my back to the table, one of them just sort of like slashes at my calf, and I start bleeding from there before I can make it behind the table.
Sounds good. And that bumps your ruin up. Let's cut back over to Diane. Diane, you are now up to 2 dice. Go ahead and roll those up.
That's combat 2.
8. That is great. Did you hit your weak point?
I did.
You did, but you did destroy the creature, so that's good. So describe killing it. I can describe the creature hitting you. Why don't you just give me like what you're doing?
Yeah, I think like with it going over his head, he has like a brief moment to like attack its back, and that gives him advantage to wound enough to after that point it can't fight effectively, and he just sort of like wears it down, and then finishes it off by slitting its throat with the sickle.
And I think the basic danger here is that in the middle of this scrum, I think what it ends up doing is it ends up like just not really getting a good hit on you. It's just a scratch. But the scratch is enough because of the sort of blighted nature of this creature. The scratch is enough to like create this like really gross festering wound. And so you take the ruin and a festering wound condition.
And I can resist that with armor?
You can mark armor, yeah, if you want to make that not be the case.
Yeah, I will mark my protective amulet.
Oh, nice. So tell me how the amulet prevents the festering wound from happening, or even the hit in general.
I don't think it stops the hit. I think what happens is like the protections on the amulet cancel out like the festeringness, and like I've been picturing it as like a bundle of like knuckle bones in like a pouch around his neck, and like as it's charged with some sort of energy that he managed to put into it, or maybe he bought it, but the power burns out, and like the bones in the sack just crumble to dust as their energy is spent.
Nice, I love it, thank you. And let's go to the other group. We're up to 3 dice. Why don't you roll this time, Brian? We're looking for 9.
Seven.
7. Did we hit any weak points? Yeah, we did indeed. Do you have armor, Rasay?
Yeah, I'm gonna hold up my greaves and mark those off.
Yeah. Give me that fiction. What does it look like?
Yeah. So I think one of these things is probably like come up to the table and like clawing its way over. And I've just got like this, and it slashes the greaves. So they're pretty much useless now. But it does give me a moment to like push it back from the chest and probably get sticky goo on my hands.
Nice. Awesome. Love it. And Korkuluk, give me your next part of the fight. What's happening?
I feel like a couple of them are kind of clawing at me and ripping at my throat, tearing out some valuable chunks of twigs and vines that sort of give me a little bit of flexibility in my neck.
Indeed. Now, at this point, Diane, I think you can join their combat since you have dispensed with the one that you were dealing with, because you'll be able to kind of essentially join the combat unexposed, because you're getting the jump on the creatures because they're not ready for you. If you wish to do that, you can add a combat die to their pool, but you will not have a weak point initially.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Just tell me, like, how do you enter the combat? Like, what's going on when you kind of run in there?
Yeah, so like they were hiding behind a table sort of thing going on, or?
Yeah, that was their initial, like, keeping them back move. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think it's just like he rushes into the room, and like they're both sort of like dealing with one of these at a time, and so like he looks between them and just tries to help whoever's having the worst go of it at the moment, which I guess that's Jen, since she needed to expend her armor.
Yeah, well, Rasay, here's the deal. You can back out if you want, because it looks like you can't really take another hit.
So I actually had a question about our position.
Yeah.
I flipped over this dining room table. We're in the main room.
Right.
Is there like a kitchen or a smaller room off of this one?
There's a room behind you, yes. Yeah.
Okay. What I would like to do is maybe suggest we retreat, and then I have a ritual hold, a warding sigil placed on the door preventing passage. So I'm wondering maybe if like Corkalook and I could back up. And I guess, Diane, I'm not sure where you are, because it sounds like you came in through the front door, so you might be like on the other side of them. I don't know. Yeah,
that's sort of what I was picturing. So that would leave Diane in a rather risky position.
Yeah, I don't want to like strand you.
That would be happening, yes. I like
do
this
have
plan,
a plan if it comes to it. So like if we want to have some inter-party conflict over this, I'm okay with that because I have a plan.
So mechanically, the way this worked, Jen, is I think you would leave the fight, give your weak point to one of them, and then I would just have you do a risk roll, which would fire off if they don't manage to kill the creatures, right? So
I guess then I would give my weak point to Diane, because he's far enough away that he can't access this barrier I'm creating, and also he doesn't have one right now. So
yeah, that's fair. Yeah. So what was your number? It was 1, right?
1, yeah.
Okay. So because you're out, your die stays though. So that's actually a clarified rule that Jesse helpfully clarified for us a while back. So we're up to 5 now. Corkalook, give us a 5 combat roll.
I was going to suggest, Jen, that perhaps you should give Rasay's weak point to me, and that I'm kind of in the thick of this. Diana snuck up behind them, and even though my ruin is at 4, I'm still wearing armor, so I could potentially take a couple of hits.
I don't know. I guess I'll leave that up to you guys. I guess. My only.
I'd say it's your call, Jen. Whatever you want to do, Jen. Just.
Yeah, I don't know. I think my thinking for Diane was just that if I do put up this barrier, he's not going to be able to get to it in time through the lurkers. Well, you could Corkalook. So I think I'll still do that.
Give us a 5 combat roll, Corkalook.
All right. Ooh. Smoking. 2 6s, 2 2s, and a 1.
Indeed.
Everybody's getting a little something here.
Did anyone have a 2 on their weak point?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so you're both taking a hit, but you end the creatures, so don't need the spell.
It's a good thing I didn't give you my weak point.
Yeah, no, that might have been pretty disastrous. Let's have a good combat here. So why don't you kick us off, Rasay? What's happening in the beginning with you?
Am I making that risk roll?
No, I don't think so. Well, I'm okay with it in the fiction. I just don't need the risk roll to resolve the combat. If you want to just do it in the fiction, I'm cool with that. So
sure. I think then I I see that Diane is there, but we're in too desperate of a position for me to like comprehend that he also needs help right now. So I just like, I'm like, Corkula, come on. And I sort of like grab hold of him, if you're okay with that, Corkula, and try and like pull him back into this smaller kitchen room. And I immediately put up my barrier, which I guess is kind of like I think like as a former guard, I would just like assume a guarding position over this door, almost like a sentinel look, like a, one of those like those suits of armor that like stands along a hallway.
Like a tower guard with a big shield.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
And I have this bow staff too, so I'll probably like slam it on the ground, and when it hits the ground, the barrier goes up. But, and Corkula, this is up to you, but I was thinking maybe I pull you in, but not fast enough, and some part of your body gets stuck on the other side of the barrier and separates. And that could be how you take your hit.
Well, so Corkula, how do you feel about that? Do you want to keep going here?
That's fascinating. I was planning on using some armor to soak up these 2 points of ruin, because otherwise I'm at 6.
Oh, I mean, you can do that too then. Let's say that happens.
I mean, I like the idea of you losing a part in the fiction and then you just put it back later or whatever.
Yeah,
I think it's fun.
Yeah. The idea of getting snapped a bit into on a magical door hold is fun.
Well, and it kind of echoes your dream, right? Because your dream was all about falling apart, being broken apart, right? So it's like kind of in that spirit, I feel like.
True. Yeah, let's go with that. Maybe it's that as Risay is kind of pulling my arm through, I'm sort of still swinging away at these emaciated yellow humored lurkers, and one of them, rips off my beautiful porcelain colander and smashes it to the ground. My arm gets nipped off in the doorway, and in that fury over my, I've got, if you remember, I've got twigs stuck in my porcelain as a beard. My hair is actually a bit of an embarrassment. It's this mildewed mat of straw thatching that I've never wanted people to really see. And in that moment of just embarrassment and rage, I take one final one-arm swing with that axe and take off a couple heads from these yellow humored lurkers.
Nice, nice. And Diane, go ahead and finish it off. Wrap up this combat.
Yeah, so I think he's still in he started off in a good position to get at one of them from behind with a sickle, which seems to be his favorite technique at this point. So that's how he takes out one of them that's harrying, and while that's happening, the other one notices him. It was dealing with Corkluck, but also it sees an exposed back and just gets a good gash in there, which is how I take my hit.
Nice, nice. And here at the end of the combat, you're entitled to 2 gold rolls. Diane, if you want to roll 8 gold dice for yours, and then Risay, if you want to go ahead and roll 9 gold dice for the other group, that'd be great.
So it's /gold 8?
Yes.
Brutal. Nothing.
I got 1.
In all that, you all got 1 salvageable bit of treasure. Which body part did you want to take there, Diane? You've got the listed body parts are on the bestiary, but you can also make one up if you want. Oh no! Oh, I guess the listed ones didn't make. Oh yeah, they did. There's the liver, the claws, or if you want to create a new one, you can create a new.
Take a liver.
I think it's not quite going to be the liver. I think he's going to find a bloated gland that's causing it to have the yellow humored part of it. I think it's in combination with the liver probably, but just a bloated salivary gland or something like that.
like that. That's disgusting. It probably smells very foul.
No, actually, I'll.
Jason, if I wanted to trade in hunt tokens, could I use that to take something from these?
No. If you
Okay.
if you trade in hunt tokens, it's going to be a treasure in the environment.
Cool, that's fine.
Monster.
I'm going to spend some time poking futilely through these corpses, trying to find a couple more livers.
Yeah, everything is just like putrid and foul. And
Oh yeah, I'm just doing this for storytelling effect. Like, this is me. You know, like,
oh yeah, I know.
There's got to be more in here somewhere.
Yeah. Let's take a 3-minute break, and then we'll come back, and we need to figure out how you all want to proceed because everyone's a little hurt, but you have tokens and money, you have tokens and treasure, which is good, but you are a little hurt. So we'll come back at 3. Okay, we're back. So I'm taking a look at the character sheets, and I'm seeing Ruin 4, Ruin 5, and Ruin 5. Everyone has 3 hunt roll tokens, which is good. And we have a fair amount of treasure between you all, enough to satisfy burdens for sure. You may want to have a little extra in order to repair your armor and things like that. So let's just have that scene. I mean, what's happening now? How are we feeling about staying on the incursion? If you want to go back to Fort Duhrin, you can do that for free. There's no cost to doing that except paying your burdens. So what do we think?
I have just a gameplay question that I'm still a little fuzzy on in Gold. Should we return to Fort Duhrin, we meet our burdens, and if we came back out, do we accumulate those burdens a second time?
Yes. Every time you go out, your burdens reset to whatever you always have to meet your burdens number. So when you come, you go on the incursion, if you ever go back off the incursion without meeting your burdens and treasure, you retire your character. They continue to live, you just don't get to play them anymore. They will die penniless and destitute eventually. So.
Does that still count if you complete the incursion?
Yes, you still have to go back you still have to meet your burdens. Yep.
Yeah, so that might be a little bit tricky.
Yeah, if you go back now, you don't get to keep your hunt roll tokens. You got to spend them before you go. If you go back now, you meet your burdens, do everything you need to do. When you come back, there may not be enough opportunities left in the incursion to meet 12 or 13 or whatever it is burdens that you all have collectively, right? Or 11 maybe. So it just kind of depends. I mean, you can always just do enough hunt rolls to get enough, but that's dangerous. So yeah, it's a decision to be made.
Yeah, it's also a little bit of a dilemma because Diane's currently the only one that knows about the way to sacrifice Lord Galdrin, and he's got a lust for vengeance, so I don't know that he's going to take that option.
Also, Diane, you don't even know yet that the Vagrant is Lord Galdrin, right? Because you weren't with us when we found that out.
At this point,
that's true. Yeah, I don't know if Beatrix probably doesn't know that Lord Galdrin is even here, right? So.
Mm-hmm. But she would have seen him before.
It's unclear. I don't think you learned
that. Okay.
So, out of character, is it worth us having a moment here, sort of recuperating in the farmhouse, catching each other up on the bits that have been missed out in each individual's experience or memory?
You mean like out of character, saying that we are doing this in character to catch each other up? Or...
Yeah, is it worth sort of comparing notes a la Scooby-Doo or whatever,
Sure.
mystery-seeking television show here to have ourselves all on the same page and then decide?
I always assume your characters are doing that unless you say they're not.
Okay.
So like that's the way I kind of run these games. Like if you say I don't want them to know that, that's one thing. But otherwise, we assume your characters talk even when we don't role play it. So.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I think Diane does not want to share the quick and easy method.
I think, unless you disagree, Corkalook, I don't see any reason to hide the fact that we know who Lord Galdrin is. I guess probably once all of this combat is done, I'll like write the dining room table and we can sit around it and talk.
I like that idea, putting the dining room table back upright. That's nice. Good touch. So, Blaine, did you say Diane is not sharing the knowledge of the ritual, the idea of destroying Lord Galdrin with the millstone?
At least not willingly. Like, I think he would, like, it would probably be obvious that he's not being fully honest. So, like, if you wanted to press him, you could probably get it out of him.
Well, so what does that look like? First, I guess we can kick off that scene by me asking you, Diane, how is it obvious to the other two characters that you're hiding something, that you're not telling them the full truth?
Yeah, it's just like he says something about the mill, and then and then when asked about it, he's like, "Oh, nothing. It's not important." You know, it's just like sort of gloss over something and then wouldn't talk about it afterwards.
All right,
and that's probably unusual for him.
You mentioned some symbols on the door that you saw when you were inhabiting a wolf form. Tell us more about those symbols. What are you holding back here?
I think I shared that the last time when I got out of the wolf form, so I don't think there's anything hidden there, but you could reiterate that. I don't really remember what the symbols were.
I don't
remember if we defined them.
Bringing this back up in the sense that I still don't know what you're hiding, but I feel like that there's something there that you're hiding, and so I think we should go to these doors and see what's written there, since you're not willing to tell us.
Well, I think, like, to be clear, I think it was writing that because of the form you were in, you couldn't read. It might just be, it may not be a symbol as much as it's just like something written on the doors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And this is me, a mannequin, knowing there's something written on the door, believing Diane is not quite telling me the truth, and so I want to go look for myself now.
Hey, Diane wants to see the doors and see what was written on them anyway, so he'll go along with that.
Sounds like we're pressing forward then.
I want to use some hunt tokens before we leave.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
How many would you like to spend?
I mean, I'm trying to figure out at this point, like, how much longer we're staying here and what the likelihood is of us needing to solve a set goal, and it feels low. So I think I'd like to just cash them all in, just raid this place, honestly.
That's fair.
I figure it's probably gonna, I don't know, catch on fire, be filled with more demons or lurkers soon. So
we're gonna go with the classic. You heard a story once about how farmers used to keep their savings inside the mattress, inside the straw mattresses, because there's no banks in this land, and also they were hiding things from Lord Galdrin's men probably too. And so you slice open a straw mattress from one of the beds upstairs, and indeed you find a fat sack of silver that is worth. Did you spend 3 tokens? I guess it's worth 3 gold. So you'll just mark that in your gold quantity.
Jason, I have an odd proposal for you.
I'm open to it. Go for it.
Can I increase my burdens by 1 to take the cat and its kittens with me?
I love it. Yes, you absolutely could do that. Yes. 100%.
Great. I'm going to do that then.
Okay. I was about to say that I take the cat with us.
You can absolutely do that. I love it. But you did find a sack of silver worth 3 gold. You'll just note it as gold, not found equipment. So, any more spending of Humble tokens?
Can I do a retroactive one?
Sure. Where were you spending yours?
I was spending mine at the keep. I want to say I found Beatrice's catalyst, and like one of the reasons like she's stuck or that is that like it was burnt out, so it no longer has power, but the materials are still valuable.
You may have to unpack what that is for me. I'm not sure I understand it What
Like
do you mean?
it's like something, like it's something that she used to do magic.
Oh, I
In
see.
some way.
Um,
Like a wand would be a catalyst, or a staff, or
got it.
key point and candle.
I think you find. I don't think it's. I think what you find is. So she was a self-proclaimed diabolist and show woman. She was like an entertainer, and so you find littered among the rubble. You find what is essentially a case marked all over with strange diabolical symbols. And inside the case, everything is just rotted and molded away. But the case itself is very, very, it's an antiquity. It is, has lots of cool compartments and things. It would make a great thing to sort of like build your own like kind of little kit out of. And yeah, that'll be worth whatever you're spending in hunt roll tokens. So.
Yeah, I'm spending 2.
Okay. So it's Beatrix Mandrake's, I guess like tool case. You can describe it however you want, but title it however you want.
Beatrix Mandrake's diabolical case.
Indeed. I would also warn you all not to get treasures that you're going to get attached to if you need to spend them. So sometimes a sack of silver is just the thing the doctor ordered. Corklook, are you spending any of your hunt roll tokens, or are you going to save yours?
Yeah, I was thinking to spend 1, keep
Okay.
it just in case we need it. Kind of at a loss as to what I'm finding, though. I don't know.
I got it. You find, to replace perhaps even your colander, you find a beautiful copper pot hanging in the kitchen. So it needs to be shined up a bit, but it's worth 1 gold. So everyone's sort of planning on leaving, but are you leaving?
I mean, I think
I wanted.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to check out the. I do want to check out the mill doors at least, and like see what's going on there, and poke around the mill without entering, maybe.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Jason, I still can't enter the cornfield, right?
Yes, you can. Now that you don't have because the statue is shattered and you don't have the curse of Servant of Malphas anymore, you can indeed enter the cornfield now.
Okay. I think I'm going to assume there's some kind of like rodents crawling around in there looking for grain or corn. So I'd like to go into the cornfield and try and find some sort of mouse to kill before out the kittens.
What time of day are we talking about right now? Is this like early in the morning at this point, or what do we think? Or late, or that same night?
Here, so.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was just imagining the ghouls like attacked while it's still in the night, but maybe it was late in the night. So, but it's up to you though. What do you think? Morning, night?
I mean, morning works for me, but it's up to you guys, I guess.
Let's go with morning then. Early in the morning, yeah, you can absolutely catch some mice. I'm into that as a scene. Tell me a little bit about these cats, like, and the kittens. How many kittens?
I'm gonna go with 4 kittens.
Okay.
And I think it's gonna be one of those situations where like cats. This is so weird, but like they can get pregnant with multiple litters at the same time, so they'll have kittens with different fathers. So I think that's probably going to be what happened here. So like 2 of the kittens look like orange tabbies, and then one of them is like jet black, and the other one is like I don't know, a calico. Yeah, they're like all different.
Yeah.
And the mom is probably kind of like skinny but trying her best out here.
Yeah.
So I think they'll probably be desperate enough for food that they'll just take what I give them. And then I can probably like scoop them into my bag or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you going to give them names? And if so, is there going to be like a naming scheme? Like, are they going to be like, have a thematic naming convention here?
I will give them names, but I think that's an activity I'll save for Hearthfire.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah.
Because I don't know
Fair.
that I feel I have time to really consider it. So.
Ponder it, yeah. You got to bond with them anyway, right? Heading out to the village, which is just a little ways south of where you're at right now. Let me find some things here. As you enter the village, you see things that tell you, if you didn't know already, there are lots of signs that the people of this place, their principal thing was farming and harvesting. You'll see like a scythe leaning against a wall, its blade sort of red with rust. You'll see, a pile of burlap sacks and things like that, right? There's a bucket of wet, orange-hued soil that's sort of half spilled, or tipped over and half spilled out. You will see on the side of what appears to be like a stable, painted with red, is the message, "Malfast is king." There's not much of Hester's mill left standing. The odd cottage or two, the stable, there's a well, but the mill is fully intact from the village's heyday. It's a stone building for a start, and it's quite a large building, about 2 stories with a crimson roof. And you all specifically came to see the doors. And the doors are painted a sort of deep purple, or there's 2 doors, one's purple and one's green. And they're chained from the outside and secured with a lock. And there is a message on the doors that has been painted in white. And it says, "Do not believe Mandrake's lies." And the set goal of the village of Hester's Mill is gain the ability to see and hear the demon Malfast, which counts as knowing its weakness.
Jason, I have a question. As a former servant of Malfast, would I have had that ability or still have that ability?
You do not still have that ability. It's unclear if you ever had the ability.
Okay.
So, Corklook, what do you do?
A minor question, is this a water mill or a windmill?
It is a powered by they would put a donkey in there to pull the millstone around. Yeah.
You said the doors are chained. Are there other entrances that are not chained shut?
You could probably give me a hunt roll. Let's see. Okay. What's your second? Where's your second die coming from, if anywhere?
Obfuscation skill.
I'm into it. Yeah.
How would you hide a thing?
Let's roll it. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah, 2 and a 3.
Indeed. You are looking around. And as you get closer to the mill, indeed, I think as you make contact with the mill, perhaps you are running your hand along the stones or something like that. You hear this tearing sound, like cloth being torn in two, like a rip. And you look, and there is a tear happening in time and or in space right next to you. It's like a glowing purple seam hanging in the air, and it's slowly opening.
I am quickly running.
Yes. Everyone sees this. I will remind you all that no one could really take a hit right now. So once you see this like tear in just space, like opening up, some kind of portal, what do you all do?
Could I use hold on that tear?
If you want to risk it. I mean,
I don't know.
using your ritual could bump your ruin up easy peasy.
I know. I have some kittens to take care of.
I mean, I'm here for it, but I just want to make sure you understand the consequences.
No, I do. And that's probably a risk I shouldn't take. So
you can all run for free, but I think it means at the very least abandoning the set. So if not the incursion.
Part of me feels like we are not equipped right now to take out a demon Malfest.
I mean, as far as we know, Malfest is on top of the mill. This is probably just like how the yellow-bellied lurkers are getting here, is my guess.
I mean, I will tell you for sure Malfast is on top of the mill. You've seen it, right? So,
Mm-hmm. But it could also be like some weird thing going on with his children.
Indeed. So, is everyone running?
If the other two are, Diane is. He's not going to stay and fight it alone.
Yeah, I'm no hero. I'll run.
Should we run to the Gallows Hill? I think that's the last location we've not explored. Is that worth trying to?
Yeah. Plus, we could maybe like sort of like see what's happening with it from a vantage point, safely.
That is true. If you run to the Gallows Hill, you can do it for free.
I'm running.
If you look back as you run, you'll see that a number of large, thick black tentacles, much bigger than the Hester's Bane's tentacles, are reaching through the portal, flailing around, slapping the sides of the mill, slapping the ground. Something disturbed it, and it's trying to find out what it is. A Hester's Bane that was just skulking around that you didn't see happens to get caught in the tentacle, and the tentacle just reflexively crushes it, and there's just a spray of black blood and feathers. But you run.
I'm not equipped to handle that.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, handling things. At some point, I need to try and weave my arm back on, so I might,
Indeed,
reading distance, start like doing the one-handed suture method. Try and do some twine to pull my arm back together.
Gallows Hill. Lord Galdrin's gallows were built high on a hill so that the people of Hester's Mill would have a good view of their friends and families swinging in the sun. And indeed, as you approach, you see the gallows itself, the construction of it at the top of the hill. You see the ropes hanging. And at the base of the hill, there's a number of oubliettes. Oubliettes are sort of subterranean prison cells, right? And these have like sort of slightly domed lattice metal doors on the ground that you would lift up and then throw the prisoner in, right? You can see a skeleton desperately clinging to one of the oubliette's cage doors. And somewhere just sort of set up as a sort of grim altar near the base of the hill, there's a rib cage displayed as a sort of grisly cornucopia stuffed with skulls, dried corn, and rotting gourds. And as you get closer to the gallows, you see the bit of frayed rope hanging there, stained red. The set goal of Gallows Hill is to find the treasure of Hester's mill.
That sounds much more upbeat.
You can spend 3 tokens to find it right away, or you can search around for a bit.
Kind of a tidy ending. I'm sitting on 2 hunt tokens. Dion, do you have 1?
I do.
How do y'all feel? Do we feel more like treasure-seeking people than heroes? Should we find this treasure and boogie back to town with as much money as we can carry?
I think at this point we don't really have any other option,
Yeah.
right? Like
maybe we come back and try and kill Malphas because Diane does have the lust for vengeance against it, but
Indeed.
definitely does not have the endurance to do so now.
Very good.
Let's do it.
All right.
One of the oubliette cages is unlocked and swings open easily. And these are like pits that go down about, I don't know, just high enough so where people can't jump up, right? Like maybe 10, 15 feet, something like that. 15 feet, say. And they're kind of roughly masoned, like, the walls and the floors are masoned so that the ground doesn't just like collapse in on the prisoner. And if you hop down into one of these oubliettes, which is definitely empty, you'll notice that one of the bits of masonry is loose, doesn't match the others. And if you pull that back, you will find treasures that the people of Hester's Mill hid from Lord Galdrin's men inside a little space. Those treasures there are several things, actually. A gold holy symbol of Saint Hester. It's a stylized sickle and wheat stalk. That's worth 1 gold to whoever keeps it. Let's just decide that now. Or, well, I'll just say it all, then we can decide afterwards. There's a sack of coins and gems worth 2 gold total. You can split that up if you'd like. A pair of silver cufflinks worth 1 gold. And a note of deposit from a bank in Amberay worth 4 gold, but only in Amberay. So you would have to make a special trip to Amberay, which is the capital city, to redeem it. But if you did, it's worth 4 gold.
Is the road to Amberay dangerous? Do we know that?
The road to Amberay, this would be a separate adventure for sure. But
Okay.
But you could, if you want to do that, like in a future session, you can definitely do that. So. But it's just the important thing is it's worth 4 gold, but it's not helpful right now. It's helpful in the future. So, who's taking what?
My burdens are satisfied, so I don't need gold right now. So I'm happy to either take the thing worth 1 gold or the banknote to do that later.
Do you also have enough to like repair armor?
Yeah, I've got a fair bit right now.
Yeah, so I have enough to satisfy my burdens. I kind of want to keep the case. And then I'd need to repair my armor, which I don't know how much that costs. Is that just 1 gold to...
It's 1 gold to unmark it.
Okay, so can I take the 2 coins? The coin sack with gold and gem? No objections?
Sure, take it. And Risse, do you want to take the cufflinks and the gold symbol, and I hold on to the note of deposit, and I'll go for a hike someday?
Sure. So the cufflinks and the gold symbol, was that 2?
They're worth 1 gold each, yeah.
Okay, sure.
And the and any like coinage you get from like say from the farm or from this sack of coins, that's always just part of your like gold number in your equipment, which is at the bottom of your backpack.
So the found section is really just for like
It's for items that are not coinage. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you can keep the found items between incursions. You cannot keep the coinage between incursions. That has to go into your hoard. So if you don't spend it. So.
Time to retreat to Fort Duhrin.
Sounds like it. Let's take a 5-minute break. We'll come back and we'll do Hearthfire. Okay, we're back. Fort Duhrin. When the Crown first began its bold expedition to the east, it marked its trail with a chain of small forts and settlements. Duhrin, the fort established a half-day's journey from the dreaded forest of Caldur, was built simply to serve as the Crown's first line of defense against the forest's dangers. I'll add here that the forest has opinions of Fort Duhrin too. The forest believes that Fort Duhrin is the, quote, grave marker of mankind. So know that. However, once small bands of explorers returned from the depths of Caldur bearing golden idols and peculiar artifacts, the fort quickly developed a second purpose as the ideal launching point for all the new expeditions, not only into the wood, but into surrounding places like Torrens Bend and Hester's Mill. I need a couple of D6s. Jen and Brian, will you each roll a D6 for me?
Four.
Thank you.
Sorry, a silly question. Online or just in real life?
Oh, it doesn't matter. I just need to just roll a D6. Everyone do it.
6.
Thank you. When you arrive, the fort is awash in conspiratorial whispers. Now, Fort Duhrin is this kind of place in general, right? Lots of people leave, they never come back. And it's like, what happened? People also constantly whisper about the way that the roots of the forest are slowly penetrating the fort. It's a source of constant paranoia. But this is different. It's awash in conspiratorial whispers because a strange beast has been captured. You hear it, you hear the rumors. The beast is being kept under guard in what was essentially an old root cellar somewhere in the fort. They have put the beast down there, or at least that's what everyone's saying. Some people suggest it's not a beast at all. Some people suggest that there's something even more malevolent going on in this root cellar that is under 24-hour guard. But in any case, that is what is sort of dominating Fort Duhrin when you get back. This talk, this rumor, this and everyone's mind is they're just going in all kinds of crazy places. Like you sit and have a drink and like you hear a different version of what is down in that root cellar. It's not a strange beast at all. It's actually an exile, a family of exiles, royal exiles from a distant land who are being held in Fort Duhrin until they can be scurried away to safety. Oh, there's a new religious movement that's like, sprung up, and they're building like a secret shrine beneath the fort, all kinds of crazy stuff. But the dominant story, the official story, is that some kind of beast is being held down there. That's neither here nor there for now. We'll get back to it perhaps later. We'll leave that up to the three of you. But we are going to do Upkeep. And for Upkeep, we're going to be doing what's called Trophy Gold Hearthfire. Now, our initial thing to do here is you need to cover your burdens. So before we do anything else, you need to erase a number of treasure equal to your burdens, either in coinage or just found treasures. And once that's done, just give me a thumbs up. We will. Right. I looked away for a bit. Blaine, did you meet your burdens? Or Diane? Okay, cool. So Hearthfire is an optional rules module for Trophy Gold. You can do all the upkeep just using the rules that are in the core Trophy Gold game, and it works just fine. Hearthfire intends to add some narrative complexity and depth and some storytelling options to your character and their backstory and their goals. It intends to explore those things about your character while doing upkeep. And so essentially you'll have this sheet, in a face-to-face game, you have this sheet called the Hearthfire sheet that lists the various things you can do for upkeep and then how you kind of handle the Hearthfire storytelling components. Those things are also on the character keeper that we're going to be using. For purposes of people watching the video, I'm going to run through the basic upkeep actions and kind of what happens in Hearthfire if you do them. So let me grab that sheet so I can read it off. So you can put money in your hoard, and indeed any leftover coinage that you have, you must put in your hoard at the end of upkeep. You cannot keep it. Basically, you stash gold in your hoard, and that gets you closer to achieving your drive and ultimately retiring successful. The first time you do so, you have to tell us a little bit about where you keep your hoard, your money, so that no one can find it. And you'll also be narrating a flashback to the moment your drive became important to you. So it's a chance to sort of show your character's backstory a bit. And then every other time in future sessions when you put money in your hoard, we get to further develop these ideas. You can carouse, which means you can spend a gold in town to get access to useful information. This is one of the ways you can learn, for example, the weaknesses of the monsters that you encounter. You can also learn rumors, get maps to new adventuring locations, or even like learn about new incursions, right? You can do all that via carousing. And the first time for Hearthfire, as you carouse, we also start to learn about your favorite watering hole in Fort Duhrin. And over time, you can even like gain an ownership stake in your favorite tavern. You have a few spell books with you that you always have with you. And during upkeep, you can study them to learn a new ritual. It costs 1 burden per ritual. So if you want to take on a new ritual, you have to increase your burdens. And we'll do some scenes kind of showing what that looks like when you learn the ritual. The thing you're probably going to definitely want to do is establish a household, because having a household gives you access to a higher quality of life for starters, but also you heal 1 ruin and all conditions whenever you return to your household from an incursion. And establishing a household, the cost is 1 burden. So you increase your burdens by 1, you have a household. And when you first do it, we're going to learn a little bit about your household. Household also is a space where you can keep mementos from the incursions, which you'll track on the sheet. You can spend gold in town to open up your crossed out backpack slots. So those slots that you kind of pull the optional equipment from, you can spend a gold to open up a slot. And as you do so, you'll be developing a relationship with the shopkeeper. You can train in order to learn new skills. You increase your burdens by 1, and you get to learn a new skill. Basically, you have a mentor who's going to teach you the skill. We'll kind of see what it looks like as you learn it. We'll have a little montage. You can heal. That's another major thing you're probably going to want to do. You can spend a gold in order to heal yourself of 1 ruin. Alternatively, you have some options on the Hearthfire sheet that you can do 1 time per upkeep trip, essentially showing how your character enjoys their their time, how they relax in Fort Duhrin, and doing one of those lets you heal a ruin without spending any gold. And finally, the last Hearthfire option is the funeral. We don't have to do that, so we avoided that outcome. But essentially, if a character dies on the incursion, we have a process whereby we memorialize them. So those are the options for being back in town. You will probably want to get your armor healed. That's another thing you can do with your gold. You will also probably want to heal yourself, that kind of thing. So establishing a household is a great idea. It pays for itself almost right away. Like, it's a good investment. If you're willing to take the burden on, it's very, very useful in the future. So.
Do we establish household as a group at all?
No, your household is individual to you. You can have a single place, but you have to like establish your personal space in it.
Right, so we each have to put in a gold.
The burden,
right.
The burden cost is the same.
The burden, yeah.
So, yeah.
You negotiate joint custody of the kittens.
I think that the key about the household is like we get to see a lot of Hearthfire is about seeing your character away from the group, like their character, like, and their kind of story when they're not with the group on the incursion, right? So, but yeah, I think I'd like to just go around the table and find out what you're up to. So let's start with Korkaluk. Korkaluk, which downtime activities are you interested in?
For a household, I would love to take over the old workshop of my creator Mashiko. Since she's deceased, it seems like a great place to physically repair myself. And
I love that.
Maybe down the road build some scarecrows just for the sake of it.
I think that's great. So you will increase your burdens by 1. You will automatically heal 1 ruin and all your conditions. So you can take all your conditions off, unless you have a positive condition you want to keep, right?
I was about to ask.
And you're going to ask that, yeah.
Hidden Breath with a Bear, nice to keep that.
Yeah, you can keep that one. But
what about the birthing dream? I don't know if that's a positive or a negative.
I think it's a negative because I think it's something I might lean on in the future. But it's up to you. You can interpret it however you want. But
all right, we will preserve that breath sharing with the bear then for the time being.
And answer a question for me. What kind of structure or environment is your household? A small cottage? Is it like well, you said it's a workshop. Like where is it at in town? What does it look like on the inside? That kind of thing.
It's really actually just a workspace underneath another business. Let's say it's underneath like a kitchen hardware supply store. Just a tiny little sort of carved out of the earth, just a couple of sort of slat windows to let some sunlight in.
Nice. And everyone else, basically you have to each say which memento from your prior journeys together can be found in this workshop. And Brian will note the answers on the lines on the character keeper there for the household. So this can be something from the incursion you just finished, something that that the Korkaluk acquired. We didn't see it in the fiction necessarily, but something Korkaluk acquired. Or it can be something about a previous journey or a previous thing that you all were involved in. But basically just some mementos that Korkaluk has kept in the workshop. You each get to define one.
I've got something if Brian's okay with it. Maybe he has like an attempt Diane has made at like making like a replacement hand or something for him, and it, because of his gash, it just fell apart. But like it was, when it was intact, it matched like the skill of your master, but it wasn't like the same style. Maybe.
That's excellent.
Or your maker, not master.
That's terrific. Sort of a, thank you, friend, but it's not quite my taste, but I'm morally obligated to hold on to this.
Well, probably wouldn't have expected you to after it fell apart, but.
I was thinking that maybe after the birthing dream, Korkaluk saw their creator. So maybe Korkaluk, you've been trying to like whittle or somehow craft their face, but you've gone through like a bunch of different attempts and you can't get it right because you just can't, like, you know what it looks like in your head, but you can't get it down, either because you're not skilled enough or there's just like something preventing you from portraying it accurately. So maybe you have like your most recent attempt at that, which is closer than ever before because you've seen the dream now, but still not quite there.
That's terrific. These are both great. Thank you.
Fabulous. Let's go to Rasay. Rasay, what would you like to? You will come back to you, Brian, to do more things if you want, but we're just going to go around a little bit. Rasay, how would you like to start in terms of your downtime here?
So I'm definitely going to need a heal at some point, but I was thinking for establishing a household, we've already established that my betrothed is from a much more affluent family than I. And I think I'd sort of like reluctantly give in to an offer that my potential father-in-law has offered to stay at one of his many like buildings that he owns for a cheaper amount of rent than most. And I think up until now I've had too much pride, but at this point I have no other option. So I like stop by one of his buildings and get like a small room for myself. A little bit
we all know this story, right? You have like the rich in-law or the in-law equivalent in this case who like wants to hold something over you forever, right? Yeah.
So I think I'll go there first and try and like gather up some bedding for my cats to hang out on.
Nice. So this is okay, well, so let's do the procedure here. Increase your burdens by 1, and you get to clear any conditions you wish, plus 1 heal 1. What, tell us about this space. Like, tell us a little bit about what it looks like. Just describe the environment a little bit.
So first I'll say that I don't think it feels right to clear self-loathing as a condition right now. Like that's something that just goes away. So
I feel like this would make it worse even in a way.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I think it is uncomfortably nice. I came from a lower class family and I'm not used to accommodations like this. To the point where I probably like it's got a very nice bedspread even that I don't use. Like that's what I give to the cats because I don't feel comfortable sleeping under this like intricately made quilt. And I just sort of like, I go in there and I immediately sit on the bed and I just sort of like try and take in the surroundings, but like the wallpaper's kind of ornate. It's got this like paisley pattern. It's just bizarre to me. There's a candlestick in the corner. All the sorts of decorations that I never would have bothered to get before because I couldn't afford it and they're not practical.
I love it. Thank you. And just to be clear, is this like an apartment? Is it a freestanding building in the fort? Like what is it?
I think this is probably like an apartment, almost like more like a nice hotel that I have a permanent room in.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Thank you. Korkuluk and Diane, what memento from previous journeys do we have here?
So when I saw Rasay bundle up the cat and her kittens carefully into her bag, I just kind of languidly reached one of my little porcelain fingers back on the mantle at what I presume was Beatrix Maindrick's house and pulled off a little stoneware milk jug that I give her so she can feed the kittens with a memento of our journey.
Love it.
Okay, the only thing I've got sort of hinges on like the beaks that might end up being sold, so I don't know if we want to leverage that or not.
We can say there's some like enough for decoration or whatever for a memento, regardless of what are cashed in.
Yeah, so maybe like as part of like while we were sitting around the campfire on the way back, Diane taught you like a way to make the pauldrons, but didn't specifically make it himself. So you've got those.
Cool.
So they're pauldrons made from the beaks of the Hester's Banes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that
nice.
a memento or is that like equipment?
It's a memento. Strictly speaking, it's a memento right now that you keep in your thing. But I am open to the possibility of it becoming armor if you're willing to take on the burden, I suppose. Or if there's like a good moment in the fiction where like you could go get those and use them in some way, I'm open to that as well. But for now,
Okay.
we'll just say it's a memento. The memento is still stuff that you have access to, right? So, fabulous, thank you. All right, so Diane, how would you like to begin your downtime?
I will do the establish a household as well.
All right, tell us about it.
I think for Diane, he has taken up, this will probably tie into something else later on, but he's taken up a little bit of an apprenticeship with like a local apothecary who was also somewhat secretly a magic user of some sort, probably like a hedge witch or something like that. And so like he's living in not a spare room, but like he's living with her other apprentice in like a bunk bed type situation and helping her out in her shop in exchange for like being taught.
I love it. So you have a room with this apothecarist. Go ahead and increase your burdens by 1, clear any conditions you wish, and heal 1 as well. If you have anything else you want to tell us about the space, go ahead. Otherwise, I think we can just move on to the mementos. I feel pretty good, but if you have anything else to add.
I don't have anything else to add. I'm just struggling to decide if I want to get rid of this lust for vengeance or not.
Oh yeah. I think if you keep that condition, I'm going to make Malfast a lingering problem. So essentially, like, and you'll be aware of it because you're so attuned to wanting revenge. Revenge is the revenge on Malfast, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's a secondary smoke type, a secondhand
Mm-hmm.
smoke type revenge, it's not your revenge. It's still a thing. If you get rid of it, I think that could be equally problematic because it means that you may hear about the problems of Malfast still being in Torrens Bend much too late, right? So I think it's a double-edged sword in a way, but we'll play with. That's kind of how I intend to play with it. So
I think I will get rid of it, and it's just like the distance from that experience has like dulled to that.
Yeah, especially because it wasn't your true desire, right? It was an ambient thing from being swapped with Lord Cauldron for a bit. Fabulous. Mementos, Korkaluk and Say.
Given our time together and together is maybe not the right word. Our brief time in St. Hester's Shrine when you.
It was a magical night.
It was a magical night. So to remember that night, I have made for you a kind of a little tiny wicker doll out of braided corn husks, but the head is kind of a woven cowl holding the broken gold fragment of that gold statue that we found beneath there.
I'm gonna say when we were in the place where you went back, that little building, to commune with Beatrice Mandrake, as it were, and there was that piece of the wall that fell. So I'm gonna say that, like, Jason, let me know if you're okay with me retconning this or not. There was like something painted on it a little bit, and some sort of design or pattern, and you now have this like chunk of wall with this on it.
I like it. Yeah.
Decoration.
And what was this? I kind of missed it. What was this from? What?
This is from, I think, our very first session.
Oh, right.
The room with the statue that we had to look under and Beatrice Mandrake. That I think is where you went back, right, Dion?
Yeah.
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 Right, yeah, because she was buried like in the rubble, basically, or like underneath the ground, underneath the fort, essentially, right? She got buried there. We never really found out who did that. I think that's still kind of a lingering mystery, right? Like, how did she end up in there? Exactly. So maybe we'll find out in the future. Very good. Yeah, in fact, you would have found out if you'd rolled better on that initial hunt roll, Blaine. But, so good. I love it. We'll just circle back around. Corkalook, any other things you want to do for downtime here? Oh, you're muted, Brian.
I said, sorry, let me hop back to the list. Typically with Hearthfire, is the idea to just choose a couple, or how far do you?
So it's up to you. I mean, like, if you need to do things like open up your backpack equipment, or if you need to repair your armor or whatever you need to do those things and spend your money on it. You must ultimately put all your extra gold in your hoard. Whatever's left over, it has to go in your hoard, unless you keep it as found equipment. If you keep found equipment, you just get to keep that. But any like coinage that you had has to either get spent or put in your hoard. So.
Okay. And during the course of this incursion, I learned the scarecrow ritual. Is my burden forever increased by 1?
I believe it is, because you did not have a similar ritual already, like in Liven or in Liven.
Okay.
Yes, so your burden will have gone up from that.
All right. Give me a second to poke through other Hearthfire experiences here.
Yeah, absolutely. You can take as much time as you need. If anybody else has an idea for going next, please say so.
Well, I know I need to heal.
So you can take the freebie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess then I can't heal anymore, because I just realized when I established a household, oh no, wait, I'm getting mixed up. I can heal. I'm gonna heal.
Yeah, you can either spend gold to 1 for 1, or you can one time you can choose one of those 3 options and do that thing to heal instead of spending the gold.
Right. I was remembering like you can't heal lower than your starting ruin.
That is true. Yeah, your starting ruin is whatever your starting ruin is. But
right, but I forgot that my burdens have increased too. So
right, yeah.
Cool. Then I'll actually heal 2, so that's the 1 freebie, and then I'll spend the other 1 gold that I had.
Awesome. Which of the choices for the Hearthfire choices are you going to make?
I'm going to do the private side that few others see.
Okay. Go ahead and mark that off, and yeah, when you're ready, go ahead and do it.
I'm going to say that I get myself set up in my new household, and I'm a little nervous about leaving the kittens alone, but I do it. And then I go into town with this stoneware milk jug, and I sort of like slowly walk through the market and to the edge of the Fort Duhrin. Is it safe to assume there's like a farmer here? Cool.
Sure, yeah.
So I guess I'll like go out to the edge of town and find this farmer and ask for some milk. And he'll ask for money, and I'll admit I don't have any, and I'll just sort of like spend the day doing like chores for him around his farm, and sort of like taking care of the animals and lifting things for him, because he's probably older and I'm very strong. So I think I would spend like a sort of pastoral day earning my keep, as it were.
I like that. That's great. Blaine, I saw your note here. You do get to decrease your ruin right now when you establish the household.
I've got a thing and or a question here.
Go ahead.
In the Hearthfire, we've got the option to we've seen a sign or omen about what's to come. What is it? You may take an extra light die in a single hunt roll or a single risk roll.
You can't do that yet. You have to. You can do that the second time you put gold in your hoard. The first time you do it, you must do those narrate a flashback to the moment your drive became important to you. So.
Got it. All right. Because I've got a good omen about the bear later.
Yeah, that's a future visit to the hoard. So something to. I'm glad you're excited about it, though. That's the idea, to get you to want to tell us these things, even though you cannot yet. Awesome. Yeah. Any other downtime things?
I'll do one of the freebie healings.
Sure. Which one are you going to mark off?
I'm going to mark off a scene showing a private side of me that few others see.
Okay.
Which, is this like the other members see this, or is this just like a scene floating camera?
So this is an out of character, or the scene that like we all get to see as players, but the characters don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So like we see him in his room whittling at like a block of wood, and just trying to make something, even though he knows about the gesh, and like you can see he's like carving a face, and well, it's like a figure, like about if I can get in the camera, about like yay big, like, so he's got like most of the head and torso, and then he's carving, and just like the knife flicks off the nose, and then he curses. He takes another flick to try and correct it, and the head just comes off, and then he curses louder and just like fucking chucks it at the wall. It probably like breaks against that stone chunk of walling.
Nice. I love it. It's good. You can lower your ruin by 1.
So it looks like for stashing things in the hoard, we're supposed to answer where we keep our hoard and narrate a flashback to the moment the drive is important. Yes. That's
true. Are you ready to stash in the hoard?
Yes.
All right. How much are you putting in there?
I think it was 4, 3. We're not putting at 3.
3. Okay. Just mark 3 boxes and answer the first question. Where do you keep your hoard so no one can find it?
Well, I'm going to keep it in a place that is the safest for me and the most dangerous for everyone else. I'm going to keep it in a bear den.
Okay, good. I like it. Is it the bear or?
It seems like a great relationship to me.
Okay, good.
I'll check on the bear periodically, and every now and then I'll leave a little thing or two behind.
I like it. So we see you kind of trekking out to the bear den, and yeah, that's good. Yeah. Well, and here we get to learn something now about your drive a little bit more. Tell us about the first moment, or narrate a flashback to the first moment your drive became important to you.
So my creator Mashiko, being a fragile human, passed away as such organic beings do. One day just sort of clutched her arm and collapsed there on the studio floor, and I knew nothing of how to repair her, and that was sad enough unto itself. But then in caring for her corpse and tending to a burial, I fractured one of my own fingers. I didn't know how to use a shovel very well and managed to bust one of my fingertips with a shovel, and there was no way to fix it. And I realized that I too am doomed to this sort of frail existence unless I find somebody who is as skilled as her to manufacture new parts for me. So that's why I'm seeking to find one of her descendants.
Oh, because your own mortality depends on it, or that's pretty good. I like that. It's ironic in a way. Good. Anyone else doing any other downtimes or stashing gold in the hoard?
Was there a way to unmark equipment again?
Yes, the shopkeep. So essentially,
I meant like armor.
Oh, your armor. Yeah, you just spend the gold and your armor is repaired. So, or it's available to you again. If there's something narratively interesting, you can tell us what that looks like or what that is like.
I imagine like him making another knuckle bone amulet for the POW, which is all that's going on there.
Nice. Where do you get the knuckle bones? Is it actual knuckle bones or?
Like I think it's like not human knuckle bones, but
Yeah.
like probably like he just goes to the butcher and like gets some goat
Got it.
knuckles or something.
Yeah. Interesting. Awesome. Yep, you can definitely do that. Yeah, if anyone needs to unmark their armor, by all means, spend a gold to do so.
Remind me, the monster parts that we got, they're just like considered sold at this point.
No, you can keep them if you want, but they're otherwise worth 1 gold, and they're
right.
You can cash them in as needed. So
Okay, so I guess I'll cash those in so I can put them in my hoard. And I had Lord Galdrin's letter, which I think was 1, right? His ledger.
the ledger is worth 1. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So cashing in all that gave me 4 gold, but I'm going to spend 1 to repair my greaves. And I think probably when I'm finished at the farm, I'll go back and I'll like pour the milk for the kittens and then sort of spend the rest of the day sewing up the slashes in my greaves and the leather. And then I will start hoarding, I guess.
Yeah, I love it. That's great. I was looking at your character sheet, Jen. Did your backpack equipment, your original 3 items, make it to the new sheet? I don't see them anywhere.
Oh, you know what? They might not have. I'll grab a link to the old one. I have it still in the chat.
Oh, okay, cool. I was just looking like, oh, do you have any spots? And it's like, oh, well, I don't even see your original 3 items. And I don't know if you ever opened up any of your if you ever used any of your open slots either. So I want to check on that.
I don't think I did.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You said you're going to put stuff in the hoard, though?
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess, where do I keep this?
Where do you keep your money? Yeah.
I mean, I don't really have any place but where I live, right? So
I guess a better way of framing that question is, where do you put it so that, like, as you live in a place full of greedy people who risk their lives every day to get things that aren't theirs. So how do you keep it from those people?
You know what? Actually, I might want to leave it with that farmer if I can. I think,
in a mattress?
I don't know, maybe. I think maybe I'll like make a deal with him that I can help him when I'm back in town if he lets me stash some things there. And I don't really tell him what it is, but he's just like, sure, whatever. And then I'll bury it somewhere on his plot. Yeah, so I guess that's where I'll keep it. Like technically he knows it's there, but even he doesn't know where.
Yeah, but it's buried in a slant somewhere. That's good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, narrate a flashback to the first time your drive became important to you.
Yeah, so my drive is to give my betrothed the present they crave. I'm going to say that I spent a lot of time with this woman before I knew she was rich. And I thought we were kind of like on equal footing. And then when I proposed, she sort of like revealed like, okay, but I'm not exactly who I said I was. Like, do you still love me? And I said, yes, of course. And then I found out that what she was incredibly rich. And I felt immediately sort of ashamed and obviously she's marrying below her station. So I think without like telling her, because if I told her, she'd probably be like, oh, don't worry about it. And then I'd feel bad. I felt the need to like prove myself. And I've been trying ever since to get her things and show that I can be like a provider.
I love it. What's this character's name?
I'm gonna say it's Sarah, but spelled Sera.
Okay. Fantastic. And how much gold are you putting in your hoard?
That's gonna be 3.
Awesome. Diane, did you have anything else to do? Are you going to do any hoard stashing, or are you good?
No, because I am keeping the diabolical case.
Okay. Sounds good. Brian, anything else for Corkaluk?
Just a minor thing. I need to head upstairs from the workshop and check in on this kitchen supply store and get a new porcelain helmet.
Indeed, you do. We can just count that as fixing your armor if you want to spend the gold on it. So
yes, yeah,
sounds good. Fabulous. Okay, so we have a couple of options here. We can call it a session. We're a little early, but we could do that. Or we have this. There's going to be a free-floating set in Fort Duhrin that you can do without having to satisfy burdens afterwards. It's just a set, not a whole incursion. But basically, the set goal is essentially the rumors of the root cellar and what's being held under watchful eye. And the set goal is to get inside the root cellar. You can do hunt rolls, talking to people in the community, physically investigating the space, and then spend those hunt roll tokens to get in there. Or you can just try to get in there. But those are an option. If we meet again next time, probably not next week because Gen Con Online is next week, and I think a lot of people are going to be kind of focused on that. And I'm not involved in it, but I know I'm going to be busy with a couple of things because it's Gen Con and it eats up everything in the hobby. So probably it'll be the week after that. But when we come back, whoever comes back for the next time, I will have another incursion ready to go that we'll do. You will also have the option of trying to take down Malfast or doing this root cellar thing if you haven't done that yet. So by that point. But so what do you think, gang?
I have time if we want to do the root cellar thing.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, let's give it a go. So let's take 5. We'll come back and we'll get started on that.
Sounds great.
A few things you know about this alleged beast. No one truly saw it be brought in. It happened under cover of darkness, and it's just a story now. The people who are guarding this root cellar, it's a sort of public root cellar, or a place where it's a place where a lot of basically like a sort of a block of like households would like put their root vegetables, right, and different things. The people guarding this root cellar where this beast is allegedly being kept is a private hired guard. It's not immediately clear who hired them. Some of them are definitely former Kingsguard, but not anymore. And they've been here for several nights and days, and there's always at least 2 guards on the entrance to this root cellar. It's like it's a door entrance with some stairs that go down right into the cellar part. So those are the sort of basic facts you can acquire just from observing or just listening to the general consensus of people. I guess I'd like to just go around really quickly and find out like how each of you would like to begin achieving this set goal. What do you think, Rasay?
Do I know any of these former Kingsguards from my time?
Possibly. I think it's a great angle for sure. Yeah, if you want to try that.
Yeah.
Hold that thought. What do you think your approach is going to be, Diane?
Probably something like along the lines of like the spirit realm. Like a lot of beasts have spirits that are more potent than. So like I'd try to detect that.
I like that as well. And Corklook, what is your approach going to be?
My initial thoughts to do a sachet around the place, sort of see what can be seen from the exterior, but then and talk me out of this if it's a horrible idea, but perhaps to exploit my mask ritual and just linger long enough that they forget I'm there, and either eavesdrop and see what I hear, or when the right moment is right, in between the changing of the guards or whatever, slip in and do something.
I like that. Let's go in the order that I originally asked you. So I think this is probably going to be a hunt roll for you, Rasay. I think your second die is almost certainly probably coming from just the idea that you used to be a Kingsguard, right? We're not really, it's not a skill so much, but I think we can make a good case for it. What do you think? Seems reasonable to me.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Yeah, and at least as you've described it, go ahead and roll. Go ahead and roll hunt roll. /hunt2. See how that goes.
4.
4. Go ahead and take a token. The complicating factor is this. Tell me who, maybe not their name unless you know their name, but tell me about a former Kingsguard you would not want to run into right now and why.
I'm going to say it's a fellow named Grant. Spelled like Grant, but with an H at the end. And I probably wouldn't want to see him because I got him fired back when I was actively a guards woman. He was making passes at some of the other guards, and I reported his inappropriate behavior, and it worked. And he's no longer working there, and he's kind of an unsavory fellow, and he blames that entirely on me.
Indeed. So what would your approach be here? How would you try to find out if there's any Kingsguard that you could suss out the information from?
I think I might honestly just sort of like do a loose patrol around. And like, I know how to patrol well and like what to watch out for. And I think the main difficulty here is trying to remain unnoticed. So I think I would try and do that to sort of like survey and watch the changing of the guards a couple times, see who I might know, and then I see Grant at some point.
Yeah, we'll talk about Grant in a minute. I think you do see another fellow who is definitely a former Kingsguard. You maybe don't know him by name or reputation, but there's something about the way he carries himself which lets you know he's former Kingsguard. What do you suppose that is?
Did you say who is it?
Or how do you suppose he carries himself that lets you know, oh yeah, he's Kingsguard, or former?
I think probably there was like a specific way we were trained to march. And even though it's like meant to be just for the Kingsguard, it's a hard habit to break, and it just sort of becomes how you walk. So I think I would recognize his gait immediately as one of someone who'd been trained that way.
Yeah, good. So you can catch this character when he's at a pub, in the middle of it's kind of like late in the day. He's just got off his guard duty. What do you do?
I think I'll sort of sit near him and wait for him to finish his drink, and then offer to buy the next one to start things off.
He's like, oh, thank you very much. So, well, you hope you don't mind me saying, but I get the impression that you are a former Kingsguard.
You found me out. I'll be honest, that's why I bought you a drink. It's tough for us out here. We've got to keep an eye out for each other. Being in the king's good graces gets you a lot of power, and being out of them, not so much.
Indeed. I suppose you know why I'm here.
Yes. I think I'm just sort of gonna like act as if I know more about the situation than I do.
Yeah.
And I know that he's guarding this root cellar, but I don't know why.
He's like, easiest money I've ever made, I'll tell you that. Easiest money I've ever made. I mean, everyone's saying it's a beast down there. It's not a beast. I don't know exactly what it is, but it was in a large trunk, and we were told to put it in the root cellar and keep an eye on it. No problem.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's no problem for someone like us, right? I mean, we've seen far worse. What's a
Yeah.
little trunk gonna do?
Exactly. I have yet to meet our employer.
Oh, well, I mean, you know the kind of person that hires someone for this sort of job. You must have some sort of inkling as to who might have done this.
Perhaps just a name. Patience Davies.
Doesn't surprise me from what I've heard about them.
Oh, you know Mrs. Davies?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I've heard the name. A bit of an eccentric.
Must
Hiring
be.
people to guard an innocent trunk seems right up her alley.
Indeed. And I think he's, he'll continue, with maybe you'll swap stories about your days in the King's Guard or whatever. And I think that's your information that you got. That's what you've learned.
Cool.
Patience Davies, and it's not a beast. It's a trunk of something down in the root cellar. Meanwhile, let's cut over to Diane. Diane, let's have your hunt roll. And I think you're getting both dice as you've described it.
Yeah, all right. I suppose I can use the dice spot again. Fives.
Very good. I'm going to reveal something terrible while telling you something. You've described before how you go into this like fugue state in order to like get a sense of like the spirit of things, and that's all good here. Probably a little more difficult than Fort Duhrin just because there's so many people and so much, it's so close to the forest, right? Which is, the forest has a malignancy about it that just hangs over everything, right?
It's just like the spiritual equivalent of like a storm on the horizon.
Right, yeah. It makes it kind of hard to do this sort of work. And what are you hoping to discover down? Like, what are you hoping to discover in the root cellar? Like, what kind of sense are you trying to get? What are you hoping to find?
Like, I want to like get a sense of any like spiritual entities are in there. Like, is it malignant? Is it dangerous? Is it powerful? Is it active?
I will tell you that it is not an it. It is a them. And specifically, it is thousands and thousands of something. You just get the sense of thousands and thousands of consciousnesses down in the root cellar. And let's go over to Korkaluk. So Korkaluk, what's your approach here?
So understanding a little bit more the hunt roll here, the mask ritual might be a bit overdone. I think what might be better is to kind of look at my skill in mimicry or obfuscation, look at the mannerisms of the guards on duty and kind of walk myself nearby, lean up against a wall. If they smoke pipes, I'll, lean up against the wall and, smoke a pipe and stand there until they forget I'm there. And then I'll inch a little closer and keep doing it until I can hopefully get within hearing range and hear what they have to say and just linger and listen for a long while.
Yeah, go ahead and do a hunt roll with 2 dice. I like that.
2 2s.
You definitely encounter something terrible. At a certain point, one of the guards says, "It's your turn to go down." He's like, No. I went before. He's like, "You didn't go down before. If you'd gone down before, well, never mind. It's your turn to go." And the reluctant one who lied about going down before, takes in a deep breath and moves toward the entrance to the root cellar. Do you try to follow? Do you try to sneak in behind him?
Sure, why not?
That's a risk roll. Blaine and Jen, what could go wrong here? Any thoughts?
Those consciousnesses that are down there are alive somehow. They could, maybe a couple of them sneak away on him when he leaves.
I'm going to say, if you get down there, you can't get back out before the guard leaves and locks the door.
Pretty good. I'm going to go so far as to say whatever's down there, if anything, whatever it is, rends you into pieces. If you wish to proceed, you shall gather some dice. A light die for, let's look it up. If it's something you're skilled at because of your occupation, background, or training, or because you're taking advantage of a piece of equipment or the environment. What do you think?
I don't know if this is too bold or not. A part of me thinks try this. Leap in, find out what happens. Yeah, I've got the skill in obfuscation, so it seems relevant.
How are you hiding yourself, or how are you doing it to where you can't be seen?
Maybe I need a bit more visual. So is this like a hatch one opens to go beneath?
No, it's a door, and then there's stairs that go down into it.
All right.
So the door opens to a landing. Yeah.
Is the other guard like walking off for a cigarette break, or what?
Sure, yeah, you can get a moment there if you need to. Yeah.
Yeah, let's try it. So is that one light, one dark?
You're just up to one light so far. Okay. The second for obfuscation. Well, I just need to know for obfuscation, like how are you being like how are you like making yourself so you're not seen right now?
Let's do this. Since I'm a mannequin, I drop down on all fours with joints hinged in a way that humans just cannot do, and scuttle down almost like an insect, but a 6 foot tall insect that is now compressed to a matter of 4 inches torso height.
Devil's bargain. We all get a chance to offer devil's bargains. If you accept one of them, you get another light die. My devil's bargain is this: no matter what, you fall in love with whatever's being kept down there. Because I know what it is. But I will let Blaine and Jen make their offers as well.
No matter what, you lose something down there and you can't get it back.
No matter what, your trespass is discovered.
So if you take one of those, say which one, and grab another light, you'll have another light die.
Let's go with it. I'm a mannequin who's been looking for love in all the wrong places. It's just
this is 100% the wrong place, but it's good. And then I don't think you're necessarily risking your mind or body yet, but you'll have the option to add it if you think it. I think initially it doesn't feel like it to me, but go ahead and roll your 2 light dice. So that'll be risk/risk 2.
A 4 and a 2.
Now, I will tell you that the complication is going to be that the guard dies and you can't save him. If you want to have a chance of saving him, you need to add a dark die to try to get a 6, basically, in which case you would roll the 2 light dice and the dark die.
Yeah, I've got. I sort of feel like, at least my mental perception is, I have my rewind ritual as a backup plan that might save things should this go horribly wrong.
If you want to add your dark die, that's just /ruin 2-1 or /risk 2-1. Yeah.
5 on the light, 3 for the dark.
It's the same result. You have the option of doing 2 and 2 if you want to try again.
Sure, let's do it. Oh, not getting any better here.
And you have to stay at that result because the dark die is highest, and that is a 4 again. So same result. I'd like to know, in the meantime, Rasay and I assume the three of you know this is happening. Everyone knows this is happening. I assume you're coordinating a little bit with each other. I want to know what the two of you are doing in the meantime. Like, let's say Korkaluk is going down there. You don't necessarily. Well, Diane might know it's dangerous because of what Diane knows. But I'm just curious, like, what are the two of you doing?
I think at this point, I think it's the opposite of dangerous, right? I'm wondering if I could have gotten that fellow Kingsguard drunk enough that he would have sort of agreed to let me try out his shift for one time, just to give him some time off. And nobody will notice anyway because it's not risky at all.
So are you going to like be a guard on duty?
Yeah, I'll say that when one guard goes down and the other guard goes to, I don't know, smoke a pipe or something, and I'll step back in, and when that guard, the smoking guard, comes back, I'll be like, "Oh yeah, he left. I'm your new buddy."
I think this might be where Grant shows up, right?
Oh shoot. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like this is probably where Grant would show up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we'll put a pin in that for a moment. What are you doing, Diane?
I think Diane's going to try and cast the curse he cast on Bellatrix to try and put the consciousnesses to sleep.
On Beatrix, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably going to take like a fair amount of time. Was like I think how we sort of house ruled that worked.
Yeah, and I feel like we're definitely like getting into. I feel like at some point you need to make this a ritual because it's starting to feel like magic to me. And do you have a ritual like that right now?
I do not.
I mean, you have the option if you want to increase your burdens. You have the option of defining this ritual and making it one of your rituals. And I think this is probably, while we're in this Fort Duhrin, is probably the best time to say, okay, you've done that now. You have formalized this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is an option you can do. We can come back to learning of the ritual later, but for now, we'll just say you can do it. But at some point, we need to see if there is an existing ritual that you can do, or we can just create a new one out of
I think sleep would probably be pretty close.
Sleep is probably pretty close. Yeah, I think that's right.
I'll actually just go ahead and mark that now and increase.
Yeah, just bump your burdens and you've got it. So sleep is going to be. I think I like that. If the situation gets out of control, I like the idea of this being the thing that happens. So let's start with going downstairs and Korkaluk. Korkaluk, the first thing you're going to be aware of is the crunching beneath your hands and feet as you crawl down there in the root cellar. And you'll also hear the crunching beneath the soldiers' boots. Do you investigate the crunching?
It seems like I really ought to. My nose is already down there anyway. So
I think you probably ought to. The floor of the root cellar is covered in a carpet of roaches and beetles and centipedes that are just there crawling on top of one another. The guard seems terrified, and he's looking like he does not want to stay. But he knows he's supposed to go down there, and there's actually a little candle lit in the space, and there's a table. And sitting at the table is a woman in a beautiful black velvet gown. And the black velvet gown seems to just sort of, visually at least, like melt into the carpet of bugs that are on the ground. And the woman is wearing a beautiful porcelain mask over her face. And she says, "Oh, I didn't realize it was already time to feed. Please, please have a seat." And she beckons the guard to sit at the table with her. How are you feeling about this woman right now, Korkaluk?
Well, if I recall correctly, I had a devil's bargain that I'm falling in love, and that's a gorgeous porcelain face, if I do say so myself.
It is a fine porcelain face indeed. Good, 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 good. Meanwhile, back up topside, you hear a voice coming around the corner. Rasay, a voice you recognize, a man's voice, saying, "I can't get any sleep anyway. I figured I'd come. I can do your shift, mate," as he comes around the corner. And you see Grant. And he says, "Rasay?"
Hello, Grant.
What an interesting, unexpected encounter this is. Do you know what I've been up to lately, Rasay?
I'm going to guess something you don't want to be up to, and you're going to tell me how terrible it is and how I've ruined your life again, right?
Good. I'm glad we can cut to the chase.
Yeah.
He says, "I'll cut to the chase." And he draws his sword on you.
I think Rasay does not want to fight this guy, simply because, like, not that I don't think I couldn't win, but I just don't want to pick a fight with this dude right now. He's annoying, and I'd rather just find any other way to shut him up. So I think I'll just sort of, like, put my hand up and I'll be like, "I understand you're angry, Grant, but look, we're both working, right? We've got a job to do, and Patience isn't going to be super pleased if she comes to check on her trunk, or her charge, as it were, and she finds us laying on the ground, bloodied, and nobody guarding her treasures. So I don't know about you, but I still want to get paid, and I am willing to put our differences aside for now."
We shall leave that hanging in the air for a bit. And the last thing we're going to see here is the woman in the root cellar. She takes the guard's hand and she says behind her porcelain mask, "I want you to know that this doesn't give me any pleasure. I simply have to do what I must do." And the guard immediately lets out a cry, a scream, as insects begin pouring out of his shirt collar, crawling all over his body. And he tries to get up and run, but he can't. She's just her having his hand is like holding him there. And this bug swarm just consumes him until he's just a sort of glistening black, vaguely humanoid shaped pile of bugs. And when the bugs fall away, all that's left is just bones and picked apart flesh. And that's where we'll end. Let's just go straight to stars and wishes. Stars are things that you enjoyed about the session. scenes, characters, bits of role play, wishes are things that you hope to see for next time. I'll start by saying stars for, there's a lot to like here. I really enjoyed watching you as a group decide like whether you wanted to push your luck in Hester's Mill or not, and kind of coming to that decision as you came to it, and sort of being strategic or tactical about how you spent your tokens and what you chose to do. That's very much in keeping with the game and what the game intends, and so I like that a lot. I thought the Hearthfire bits were really good. I enjoyed seeing these little moments with your characters, like learning more about them and kind of their private lives and kind of what motivates them. So that was all very, very enjoyable. Wishes, well, obviously I want to see how these cliffhangers resolve themselves, but also I'm really curious to see what comes next for the group. You could theoretically go defeat Malfast, and as long as you don't go back to town and you continue on somewhere else, you still can satisfy your burdens, right? So that's an interesting, I just think there's a lot of tantalizing things. This particular encounter we're doing right now might lead to some things, who knows? But I'm curious to see where it goes from here. Those are my stars and wishes.
So for stars in Hearthfire, the notion of once you've chosen a home, that the other players are coming up with the mementos is smoking. Whoever came up with that did a really great job of coming up with the dynamic. Well done, Jason. For wishes, I wish that I never have the experience of seeing Jason do that vocal glottalization that he did for the Yellow Belly Lurkers, because I just about lost it in real life hearing that noise. It was too much. In a good creepy way, but I was like, stop.
Yeah, I will add +1 for the mementos. Those were fantastic. Also for like the moments from the freebies for the healing, those were good too. Another star to Rasay for adopting the kittens. Wishes, I don't really have anything special for wishes. It's been just a fantastic session.
Awesome.
I'm also gonna mention the mementos because I thought that worked really well. Stars for me was watching how we kind of like kicked things off with combat. I thought that was like a fun way to start the session, and I was surprised with how easy it was. I think I expected to be a little bit more like disoriented than I was, because I was like, oh, well, we weren't in combat when we left, so I didn't expect this, but it ended up being fine. I thought that was really cool. And wishes, I want to know why, like aside from the porcelain mask, I want to know why Corkalook is so taken with this person. Like, what about this lady of bugs appeals?
Especially after this guard gets picked clean.
Yeah, like where's the attraction there? I'll be curious to know that.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end the recording. If you're watching the video, we hope you enjoyed Hester's Mill and the start of a little mini adventure in Fort Duhrin. And we'll see you next time.